So you want to do visual effects, but you're short on space and you're short on time. It already takes me forever to set up. I'm not doing that. Setup isn't perfect. Light shines through. It's kind of sheer, which is terrible for a green screen. Your life sounds a lot like mine. But even with all those issues, you could still pull off some great visual effects. If it fits! I recently made a video about the third film to win Best Picture at the Academy Awards, All Quiet on the Western Front. And in that video, I put myself at that Academy Awards ceremony. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's such a pleasure to be here. And all I want to say to everyone in Hollywood tonight is corn. I love it. It's a big lump with knobs, right? It has the juice. It has the juice. I filmed that when the corn thing was still relevant. Is the corn thing still relevant? Anyway, I don't have a big studio with a big green screen wall and a ton of space to have the perfect setup. That's okay, your setup doesn't have to be perfect. Mine really is. And besides, you don't want to wait for the perfect scenario when you have all the perfect space and gear. I'm of the mind that you should always try and do a really terrible version of whatever it is you want to do, because you're guaranteed to learn a lot more from that than from any ideal setup. And some things you'll never learn, like not to move your hands so much while you're filming on the green screen. Now, back to the effect. The first thing I had to do was film myself. This green screen is terrible. I should just buy a cheap pop-up one, but I haven't yet. It's huge, which is nice, but it's also super thin, which is not nice. And it's cloth, so I can't keep the wrinkles out of it, as you can probably see. I could probably just steam them out if I wanted to, but it's like a 3-second bit in this video. It already takes me forever to set up. I'm not doing that. I also don't have enough room in here for this. When you're trying to do a green screen effect, you should always try to have enough space between you and the green screen so you have room to evenly light the screen as well as light the subject, in this case, me. But as you can see, this is not evenly lit. There's a huge hot spot right here, and all those wrinkles make lots of little shadows everywhere. I'm just shooting on my Sony a7S II. I just have a little panel light lighting me up. But if you're trying to composite yourself into existing footage, you need to make sure that the lighting on the subject matches the lighting that is in the shot that you're trying to put the subject or yourself into. In my case, it looks like this is pretty evenly lit from above and maybe even a little bit from behind. This panel is kind of acting like a fill because the aperture is so huge, and I was getting hit by some of that light too, but it ended up working out pretty well. I have the Aperture 300D light on my green screen. I'm using this huge light for my green screen because my other lights just wouldn't have the power to light the whole thing, let alone evenly. And I had to put it so close because I just did not have the space, and I was getting that hotspot, but I knew that it was lit evenly enough that I could make it work. I'm gonna make it work. Are you worth what you got, guys? Let's do this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's such a pleasure to be here. And all I want to say to everyone in Hollywood tonight is corn. So once I filmed what I needed, I brought everything into After Effects and created a mask around myself. Of course, I needed to create keyframes for the mask because I can't keep my arms still. Then just go to the effects panel and drag in the key light, pick your color. And this is why you want to try and keep your screen evenly lit, because After Effects, or whatever program you're using, is going to pick out that specific color. And if there are variations in that color that shadows would create or highlights, you'll have to do some extra work to get them out. But for me, I knew that I knew I was even enough so that I could clean things up. First, change your view from final result to screen matte, and then under screen matte, adjust clip black and clip white until everything you want in the scene, me, is completely white. White is what you're keeping, black is what you're getting rid of. And there you have a keyed out Chris Fitz. Now back to Premiere, and you can see Louis B. Mayer turning with an Oscar in his hands, but in my image of him standing and listening, he doesn't have that Oscar because he's handed it to Carl Laemmle. So all I did for that was zoom in for a close-up on me and then back out to when he was already turned. I have to match your footage. I took my saturation and contrast down and deepened my shadows. I also went into the color wheels and added just a teeniest bit of yellow. Some people call it sepia toned. And then I tried to match the grain. I don't think I quite nailed it, but I added mosaic at 400 and a little bit of Gaussian blur at 10. Why is it so hard to make good footage look bad? Now, the last thing I had to do was get my background footage in order. I had to mask out Mr. Laemmle. Sorry, Carl. You may have owned Universal Pictures, but you don't own me. And then slide in an empty half of the stage underneath. But I was getting this very hard line down the center here where my mask was, so I took another, and they were standing too close for me to just feather it to get rid of it, so I took another clip with a good bit of room around the center, masked out a square-ish thing, and then feathered it to smooth the transition. And that's it. And now, if that was entertaining to you, go watch me animate the CBS logo.